Hi, Embracing Only podcast family. This is Archita. We are introducing impact moments, actionable insights that highlight the best and powerful learning moments and wisdom from our past episodes of incredible guests. In this highlight reel, you'll hear leadership lessons from a combat veteran, taking action to be anti-racist, mastering workplace negotiations, leveraging your uniqueness for success. We'll take a topic and break it down in a short, snappy episode. So click on the link in the show notes to continue listening to these impact moments with our amazing guests.
As you're out there flying around, conquering the world, doing great things, are you ever afraid? And when you get afraid, how do you manage that fear?
Wow. Yeah, I do. And I think whenever there's change, especially like big changes, it's just natural to have a little bit of fear, whether it's a moving states, which in the military, you move every 3 to 4 years, or it's a new job, a higher rank, a new leadership position. I personally think it's natural for me to have a little bit of fear on that. And whenever things or examples like that come up, I try to be as objective as possible with that fear. And I try to really hone in and kind of question, why is that fear a thing? What am I afraid of? If I can answer it, okay, I'm afraid of this happening, this specific thing. And if I can answer that and address it, then easy, I move on. But if I can't figure out why I'm afraid of this particular change, then what I try to do is really take a step back and just weigh the two options. I can put my power into this fear, or I can put my power into what's on the other side of this fear. Is moving through or making this change a new environment? Am I going to grow in some sort of other way? Is it a new opportunity for me to promote? Is it a new opportunity to step up my leadership game? If that is the other side of this fear, then for me, that's worth it. And that is what kind of helps me push through the fear to get to the other side.
I love that practical approach to managing the fear. I love that because if we can figure out what is triggering us, for lack of a better word, and then you refocus on your why, you can get through it. So I love that. I think that's a great way to logically break down the sometimes illogical fear responses that we have when we're being challenged and view them as opportunities instead of obstacles. But Jeanine, not only are you a success in your professional life, but you also spend a tremendous amount of time in the community. And the folks in the audience, if you haven't had a chance to Google Jeanine, I would go ahead and do it. There's a ton of content out there. But one of my favorite stats about you, Jeanine, is not only did you charter this path for yourself in the Coast Guard that's pretty amazing, but you reach back and inspired the next generation of Coast Guard Black women pilots. There's now, I think the internet is calling them the Fab Five, and you're, mom to the Fab Five. So these ladies that have come up behind you that are now helicopter pilots and fixed wing pilots were all inspired by you in some sort of way. Can you share a little bit about why that's important to you and your kind of path to lifting these other women up?
Absolutely. First of all, I love all of them. We're a close-knit group. We talk to each other all the time, and we really, really want to feel this a sisterhood between us. So we try to work as best as possible to keep that connection. And we're more than the Fab Five now. We're actually the Fab Six because our sixth, Jordan, just got her wings of gold in December, and she's stationed in Houston. And we have 3 more in flight school right now that are coming behind us. So we're growing.
That is
the
amazing.
numbers. Yes, we're growing the numbers and we've got lots of goals to accomplish. It's important when you, and just military or non-military, when you look at the numbers of professional Black aviators, Black women aviators to be specific, that the numbers we account for less than 1% in the aviation industry. That is a very low percentage.
Wow.
And if we're going to move that metric or move the needle any more to the right and increase those numbers, it's all about exposures, getting into schools. It's all about seeing is believing. So letting some other minority little kids know that this is something that they can do. This is something that they can be. This is something that they can absolutely attain if that's their goal in life. So I'm really passionate about that because when I started flying, I think it took years and years for me to meet another female pilot. The industry is dominated by male majority. So for me to spend some time being the person that I wanted to see when I was younger, I would absolutely do it. And I would spend any extra time I have doing it because it's what's going to change that statistic from being less than 1% to much higher and more representative of where we are as society.
I couldn't agree more. And I didn't realize the numbers were so low. I knew they were low, but 1% is pretty incredible. But it's great to see and to know that there are women like you that not only are you taking on your own challenges as you continue to trailblaze, every accomplishment for you is a new thing because you're the first, but you're taking time to mentor and coach and bring along these other young women, and hopefully they're reaching down and bringing women along with them as well. That's what it's all about. I love that. So, if you had a chance, Jeanine, to speak to your little self, we'll get to Alyssa in a second. For you, if you had a chance to go back and talk to little Jeanine, what would you say to her?
Oh my gosh. Don't fixate on mistakes. Just learn from them and keep it moving quickly. And I think that's a little bit natural. Things go bad, and in your mind, you tend to think about them, overanalyze them, try to figure it out, maybe be depressed about it for a little while. But it's only human to make mistakes. And I feel like making mistakes is what makes me grow to reach a next level or maybe a next level of understanding. So I need to make mistakes to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep progressing. And if I just don't fixate so much on the bad feeling or the less than feeling that comes with making those mistakes, I think I can move on quicker and keep accomplishing, more goals, really.
Oh, you hit on something here, Janine, because I think when you think about innovation, and most companies today are on this DE&I journey, and the reason they're on this journey is because of the innovation that comes with having people from different backgrounds and different genders and different ages and all different walks of life after a project or a problem to solve really breeds innovation. But we have to learn to not dwell on those mistakes, because if you don't have a mistake, how are you going to grow? And even if you make a gazillion mistakes, you only have to find that one right way to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. But I remember as a little girl myself, I was so afraid of failing or making a mistake. And I feel like I wasted so much time and caused myself so much stress, just like ruminating on those mistakes instead of just being like, oh, that didn't work. Let's move, let's move on.
Absolutely. And that's part of, I feel, growing the next generation is that balance of we're going to celebrate successes, but then let's talk about those mistakes too. And we're not going to talk about them to dwell on them. We're going to talk about them from the learning perspective of, hey, okay, so why is this a mistake? What do we learn from this? Okay, great. And maybe even celebrate that too. Because then if you put a positive spin on it and you put like this celebratory spin on it, then it doesn't become something that we fear or we just have heartache about. It's something that we're excited about because, hey, I grew out of this. And that's what I want to do. I want to grow.
Couldn't agree more. You can't grow without those challenges. So, Janine, for the women in our audience that may be listening who want to do more, but are afraid of the challenges or the perceptions or whatever that may be holding them back, what would you say to them?
Oh my gosh. Hopefully I don't get in trouble from Nike here, but my answer is just do it. It's just do it. You know what? what do you want to give your power to? Do you want to give your power to the fear of not accomplishing something? Or do you want to actually give your power to your accomplishments and give your power to your goals? This goes back to that fear conversation we had a little bit earlier. And I think that if I give my power to the fear, then I'm going to be missing out on so much success that's on the other side of that fear. This reminds me of when I was joining the Coast Guard. One of my major challenges is that I didn't know how to swim. And that could have been a significant roadblock for me, especially since after you get sent to flight school, within 2 weeks of classing up, you have to swim a mile. And I was extremely intimidated by that. But at that time, I thought, okay, all right, I'm going to have to buckle down. I have exactly, I think it was maybe, 5 months between joining the Coast Guard and going straight to flight school. So I had to learn how to swim in 5 months and be able to swim that mile. And in less than a year, I was able to do it. And it's all because I considered and I weighed the options. Do I want this fear to prevent me from doing what I want to do, which is join the Coast Guard and fly for the Coast Guard? Which one is bigger? I want to join the Coast Guard and I want to fly for the Coast Guard. So this little thing like not knowing how to swim and afraid of putting my head under the water, that's just going to have to go away. I'm just need to check that box and keep it moving.
I mean, there it is again. I think there's such a common theme here in focusing on what you want and not letting the noise, including the fear, it could be other people, it could be yourself, not letting that stop you from pursuing your dreams. Can't agree anymore. And for those in the audience that don't know, this like swimming situation is real. I think the Coast Guard has very few minorities. The Coast Guard Academy, I think, has even fewer. I want to say the percentage is like 6% at this point. But when you get there for your summer introduction and you're like the boots and everybody's running you around and running you ragged, and in that first week, they set you up with the pool. And I didn't know how to swim either. And I remember our very first task at the pool, we had to climb up the little ladder and then you were supposed to jump off the dive board into the pool. Jeanine, was that the same exercise for you?
Olivia, the first time we were in the pool, I couldn't even put my head underwater.
Oh
So
my God.
forget jumping off the dive board. I got in the shallow end and would not let go of the side or put my head underwater. Okay, that's how much of a mess I was.
I was the same mess, trust me. And I had the same thought process. I was like, either I'm going to jump off of this dive board and maybe make a fool of myself and maybe drown, or I'm going to have to swallow my pride and not graduate and go home in defeat because I let this swimming pool defeat me. And I would not be defeated, but it was ugly. And fun fact, myself and most of my classmates, we spent 3 years in rock swimming is what they called it. It took us 3 years to pass that lifeguard test. You mentioning that just brought back hilarious, but also terrifying memories. So thanks for that.